Good afternoon, everyone. We would like to call this meeting to order. It's exactly 1 p.m. Today we're sitting as the Committee of Adjustment, and we do have 4 of 5 council members with us. John's at a police function today. Again, it's 1 o'clock. I call this meeting to order officially. We are here in the presence of our clerk, deputy clerk, and several other staff members. First item on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. And it is that the Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectively acknowledges the resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Moving on, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest today by any of our committee members? Seeing none, that will be recorded. Motion to confirm agenda. Prepared motion reads that the Committee of the Whole agenda for October 14th, 2025 be approved. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, second by Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have a couple of delegations today, although one is in a traffic issue on 401. However, that is our second presenter. We have an area resident and I believe others here with us today, being Larry Bowman. Larry, this is not the Committee of Adjustment. There's no severances to be dealt with today. So just keep in mind what you're here for, okay? Larry, I welcome you to the podium. And I believe your presentation is on the Cobourg Pickleball Club. And so we'll turn it over to you, please.
Okay. Dear Mayor Jib and members of council, my name is Larry Bowman. I'm a resident in Hamilton Township. I'm also president of the Cobourg Pickleball Club, and we also have Dave Cadet. He's the vice president of the Cobourg Pickleball Club. On behalf of the Cobourg Pickleball Club, I would like to express my strong support for the development and dedication of pickleball courts in Hamilton Township. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in North America, and our township has already seen tremendous increase of interest. Our club has grown to over 200 members, with more joining every month. Remarkably, approximately 40% of the members live right here in the township, underscoring the strong local demand for facilities. Our benefits of pickleball extend far beyond the game itself. It is a sport that is inclusive to all ages, abilities, providing opportunities for youth, adults, seniors to participate together. The physical health benefits include improved fitness, agility, and balance, while social benefits are equally valuable, fostering friendships, community connection, and a sense of belonging. At present, our court availability is limited, which restricts opportunities for play, clinics, and tournaments. With proper facilities, our club could offer learn-to-play clinics for newcomers, run skill development programs for all ages, host local and regional tournaments, and bring visitors to our township, create more recreation and competitive opportunities for players at every level. We recognize that building new courts requires financial investment, and our club is committed to contributing. We are prepared to help through direct fundraising, community partnership, and volunteer support. Together, we can create a sustainable plan and make these courts a reality while minimizing the cost for the township. Investing in pickleball facilities is investment in health, well-being, and social vibrancy of our community. With sports' rapid growth, Hamilton Township has the opportunity to be proactive in meeting community needs while also attracting new visitors and activity to our community. We look forward to working with council, staff to make this vision a reality. Thank you for your time and consideration and for your continued support and recreation in our community. Also, I'm going to turn it over to Dave. He's going to do a slideshow presentation and show you some of the location where we would like it.
If it'll change.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's Dave Cadet, and like Larry said, I'm on the executive. I've been on the executive actually from day one. We're going into our 5th year next year. And currently we have no real courts in place. We're currently playing in Cobourg right now, hence the name Cobourg Pickleball Club. but we do not have any pickleball courts. We've been discussing with Trevor on a couple of occasions, and the proposed location that we're saying is at the community center. You can see in the white, roughly 130 by 140 feet is what we're looking at. This would enable us to build 8 pickleball courts. I think what we find that in most cases is that I think a lot of towns and cities make the error of building like 3 courts or 4 courts, like Port Hope has built 3 courts. One, it's not big enough to run tournaments, which we've run very successful tournaments, subject to us now able to provide at the current time $50,000 towards these courts. So we've raised this money through tournaments and some fundraising, but mostly from tournaments. So this kind of location with 8 courts would be just perfect. I mean, Peterborough's just finishing 14, but Port Hope's put 3. You can't get on the courts when people are going. There's too many people playing, and we've lost some membership as a result of not having designated pickleball courts going to Port Hope, because it's just more fun to play on the court. It's not playing on a tennis court. You're not running for the ball as much. So we're proposing that we build 8 pickleball courts. This is where we're playing right now, down to Sinclair Park. It's 3 tennis courts. We've converted by painting the lines on it to be 10 pickleball courts. We fill the courts on Monday nights, for example. We run a ladder. We fill the courts. We actually have too many people, so we had to run the ladder on Monday and Wednesday nights. So, you know, we're looking at upwards of 80-something people that are coming out to play. We ran our tournaments there for the last 4 years. We had close to 300 people at these tournaments. So we're pulling people all the way from Toronto to Ottawa that come down to play in the tournament. So we would be, you know, bringing to Baltimore this big number of people. Now, we actually had to cap the number of people that we bring to it, because with 10 courts, we can't do more people. We don't want to be playing till 10, 11 o'clock at night. So we actually capped the numbers because we have more interest than we can actually fill on the courts. This is just an example of what we've got on our last pickleball tournament. You can see on the left picture where they were 14-year-olds. One's from Peterborough, one's from Cobourg. They won the silver medal, or they won the bronze medal. But on the right side, Bob on the right there is 92 years old. He actually won a legitimate medal. So you can see that we have a wide range of people. This is not, I mean, for years you would think it was more of like a senior type of sport, but that's really not the case anymore. We have people from 12 in our club all the way up to 92. We have a couple actually 90-year-olds in our club. So I think that we would probably at least be over 300 members in our club once we have designated courts. So this is the kind of thing that we're kind of proposing that we'd like to do. I mean, here, I mean, they're showing 10 courts, but we're proposing that we would do 8 courts. Ideally, we would like to put something like a 6 or 8 foot walkway down the middle. It provides for better viewing. We like to have all the courts individually fenced in. It's just safer that way, but it also provides better play. You don't get interrupted as much. So there's a good example of where they've got the courts. I mean, this is really nice. I mean, individually fencing is something that we would like to do. I mean, whether we take our $50,000 and add into individual fencing, or perhaps a little clubhouse storage room for ourselves, we're prepared to help in any way we can. So there's a say already that we've have over $50,000 prepared to put into this project. We met with David Piccini on numerous occasions, and he's been supporting us all along in trying to get something going. Our latest meeting, he was really suggesting that we lean towards to you in terms of getting it built, mostly because he thought Trevor and the rest of the council supported it, where we have seen a lack of support in our previous endeavors of trying to get courts. We've had several quotes done, and we're looking probably in that $375,000 range to build this. If we get a Trillium grant, as Trevor was saying, it's going to be 50% the council and 50% to the grant itself. The actual maintenance of the courts once we get going is minimal. hopefully we won't have a COVID and have to play outdoors. I myself and about 8 other people, we used to play outdoors on your court that's currently there now. And the maintenance people actually would scrape it off sometimes with the trucks for us. And we were playing right through COVID in the outdoors. So it's very addictive. I don't know if you've played it yet, but it's a great sport and I would recommend you try it out. So, I mean, that's basically, hopefully we can go forward. We're quite excited about it. We feel very positive with our previous discussions that we've had with Trevor and the council. So this is where we stand right now. Any questions?
I was just gonna trade with my fellow council members. This approaches committee in whole, and does provide us an opportunity to ask questions. I guess the first one I want to say is, I don't think even on one eye will be able to do this.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
I may be weak. I have to play my 92. There, questions for our presenters?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your presentation. Well done. I guess I just have a few questions, if I could. Is there any plan for cost recovery of the construction? In other words, do you charge for court time?
We do. We have a membership fee. I mean, our fee right now is $50 a year. So, I mean, what sport can you play? We provide balls with that. Our long-term goal would probably have ball machines and stuff like that. So we would be prepared to pay some money back over time. But if we're throwing $50,000 in right now, I think that would be part of our cost contribution. But in the longer term, if it's a 10, let's say that covers us for 10 years of say renting the courts for our club time, then I'm sure that we'd be able to pay something.
If I could,
Please continue, Larry.
when you say there's minimal maintenance, we know from currently, even on our own tennis courts and stuff like that, you're continually trying to keep it, the base right, repainting the lines and all those kinds of things. So that would be something to go ongoing. And also maintenance of any of the garbage that would be, created during tournaments or stuff like that. Would you be responsible for those types of things?
For it. I mean, when we've had them in Cobourg, the only thing they did was they provided a couple of cans, and they would pick it up after. But the place was spotless when we were finished. Nobody had to come out and clean anything up.
We've heard, if I could, we've heard that other communities, municipalities have had complaints about the sound coming from pickleball to the surrounding neighbors and stuff. Do you have any plans whatsoever to put up baffling to reduce the sound?
So yes, it's definitely been an issue. Where you find the issues are is when they build the pickup courts right beside houses or apartment complexes. So what's happened is they've had tennis courts over the years, and because the tennis courts aren't being used, they've been converted to pickleball. But now pickleball is louder than tennis. So the issue that you're kind of hearing a lot about is because, they're right there. So at Sinclair, we've had the same question was asked about Sinclair, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's a bit of a distance between the homes and the courts. It's not that much. So we had a counselor come out because that issue was brought up, and just standing on the road there, couldn't hear anything. And we had the full courts and you couldn't hear sound. No, in this location that we looked at previously, I don't see that will not be an issue at all. And if it was, and it's not going to be, but if it was, I mean, some sort of spruce plantation, bit of a berm or something like that would eliminate it completely, but it is not going to be an issue. There's so much distance there, you won't hear a thing.
Okay, and if I could, just one more. I guess this question goes to Trevor. How busy are our tennis courts, and if anybody's playing pickleball currently on our courts?
Through you, Mayor Jib, we don't have the data of the actual tennis courts because we don't book them. I can tell you all the tennis courts that we have are lined for pickleball, and in my observation, there's probably more pickleball use than there is tennis use on them.
Interesting. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Larry. Mark, questions?
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to hit back to Larry's concern and cost recovery. Um, Is there a way that the township would recover any costs of these during the year? I know you've mentioned the 50,000, and 50,000 is helpful, believe me, but there is cost, as Larry just mentioned, dealing with garbage pickup. It looks like you have a number of picnic tables and so forth in this picture, so you'll need some sitting, for people to sit on, that kind of thing. You've mentioned you would take the garbage away, but I mean, end result is that may happen for a while, and our staff will probably be in charge of doing that at some point.
I don't see any problem. I mean, if we're just doing, just 300 members, I mean, we're pulling in quite a few $1,000s a year just in our fees. So, I don't see that we wouldn't be able to contribute something every year.
It's just to see some sort of a guarantee that we're going to get something each year rather than build them and then 3 years later they're built somewhere else and ours are sitting and somebody else's are being used, especially if they go to Coburg or Port Hope where they expand.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, to think something's going to be built in Coburg is a dream.
Okay.
Like they have no chance of building anything there. They have no money. They have no coordination of backing us. No coordination. Well, you've read about all the troubles they're having just on the council. We have talked and had numerous members and meetings with them, and it is just like, oh my God.
But things do change.
They do
you know.
change.
I
They
mean,
do
when the
change.
new
People could
council
change.
comes
Yeah.
in and-
I mean, I think
Well, these are top-notch courts. Like, this will be the place to play pickleball. Like, that's why we want the 8 courts. You can fit all the people in there, and the club's going to continue to run excellent. I don't think it's going to be any place that's going to draw. Like Peterborough, the size of Peterborough is just putting in 14 courts right now. If we put in 8 courts, we won't. This will be the place to go for playing.
Yeah, like I'm very supportive of what you're trying to do and I hope to achieve. I'm just worried that somewhere along the line we lose out on that, and I just don't want to see that happen.
Just let me clear to yourself, Larry, because we are being taped and it goes to the public.
Yeah.
Larry, could you kind of bring your chair over, we'll use that microphone in front of
Sure.
your head there, guys? I presume it's still on and
Yep,
that'll help,
yep.
that'll help everybody. and
Okay.
record it that way.
I don't see that. The garbage that we have at St. Clair when we have the ladder is like nothing. Everybody brings their own water bottles now. There's no plastic water bottles. Everybody has their own water. There's very little garbage created from it. And
But
if it is a problem, we can.
I
We'll
just like
step
to
up
see
to it.
some sort of a guarantee that we're going to get something back during the year, that's all. Whether it be
We would
5,000,
have-
10,000 or
Yeah.
something.
I think that if we're going to throw $50,000 in, I see no problem that we're also going to say, well, we can sign something that like a lease, 5-year lease or something like that. I mean, we're not going to walk away because we put $50,000 into this.
Sure.
I mean, we want to build it into a club with a little clubhouse. We want to, I mean, it'd be great to say you have a restaurant there, but that's never going to happen. But I mean, it'd be cool just to make it a place that people come out and socialize, play some pickleball, hang out. That's our long-term goal, is to make it. I mean, we're not looking to walk away. We're not going to walk away from $50,000 investment into it. And plus every year we're going to invest more.
How long did it take you to get the $50,000?
We did that in 4 years.
4 years, so about $10,000, $12,000 a year kind of thing.
Yeah.
So if
And that's
you
just
could-
from our tournaments. We have not done any
so
fundraising.
there could be a possibility if you guarantee $4,000 or $5,000 a year.
Yes,
Oh, for
not
sure.
a problem. If that's what you want.
I mean, right now
every
we're
tournament
playing-
we run right now is bringing in 12,000.
And right now, it'll be less now because of the 8 courts, but I mean, right now, we're paying to rent the courts at Coburg.
Okay.
And it's not 4,000 or 5,000, but it is thousands.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
something you can work with Trevor on.
Yes.
is-
A lease agreement of some sort.
We'll go to you, Bruce, here in 1 second, but I'm going to throw something out here at Arthur because you do this for us all the time. Just based on the numbers in front of us, which is a project cost of $375 and our percentage being 36.5. And I know those are just numbers. Can you tell me how many dollars that is, please, Arthur or Nezrat? I'm sure one of you have a calculator that you can do that for us, just so we know that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay, can I just use a lump sum, 400,000?
Absolutely.
So $400,000, and if 50,000 is paid from your team, I'm hoping that we will be able to apply for a grant. That's going to be around $200,000. So from township, it's going to be around $150,000 we're talking about.
Okay, thank you. Bruce, coming back to yourself, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just echo the same concerns as our other councilors, that we invest this money, that I would hope that there would be some kind of return on back. It's just, we have to figure out where all money's going. When you put it on a particular spot, and we have to consider those investment come along and ask the same thing, and then we do those. I think there's some guarantee that we can get some return on.
Yep. That's a reasonable request. It's not a problem. We could do a lease agreement. Also, that number that we have, we actually have a quote for that number from a place to build them in Toronto. That is a designated, or that's a quote that we got this August. So that is a true number for 8 courts. Yep. Yep. We've been in contact. Trevor's been in contact with them. That is the actual quote. And we've also talked to Dave Pacini. The grant money is, you can apply up to November 2nd, up to $200,000 maximum. So we know that those numbers are right. And we've had a meeting with Dave Pacini. He says, you guys will get the grant. He says, Trevor always does an excellent job doing the grants. And he says, I have no problem seeing that you guys won't get the grant money.
If those are the words coming from Minister Pacini, we better get Trevor working on all our grant applications. To heck with the recreation end of things. You just became the official grant writer, including water.
If I could
My-
add-
My optimism, gentlemen, is certainly positive, but I think we always have to reflect on what is real and what is believed to be real. And lots of times that's very different things. Just before we go back to yourself, Larry, I believe you had a follow-up question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple. So is this going to be exclusive for your club? In
No.
other words, will people can just walk on and play?
So what we would like for our contribution to the township, we would like just a set of designated hours. We'd say maybe
Oh, I
a
see.
couple hours in the morning, a couple hours in the evening. The rest of it's going to be open to anybody in the township to use. We just want some designated hours for us participating with our club.
Yeah,
In
you
that
indicated-
respect, if I could just add, what we were looking at with the town of Coburg was a lease agreement. And we were then taking on all maintenance of that area. All maintenance was going to be covered by us. Then it was an exclusive club. So it was an option that was expressed. They liked that idea because then we looked after everything, the repainting of the courts and all that gets over time. But then it was an exclusive club. That's just something we're throwing out there. I mean, it's a possibility. Then the cost is borne by the club. But the problem with that is then it's not, then it's exclusive and everything's locked up when it's
Yeah, it's
not
not, I think
otherwise.
it's better to leave it open, same as all your tennis courts in the township. It should be open to everybody.
Just that we have heard there's been some issues in other municipalities where there's been some arguments going on, foul language and stuff like that. And, you know, if you don't have exclusivity, you know, will you have people trying to walk on and then, you know, not being able to play? And then, I mean, we've heard, I may be wrong on that, but I did see some generally.
So to solve that, we would just put a sign up there saying, we've rented this off the township for this is our exclusive hours. We had the same sign put up at Coburg, and that solves the problem. Because we shared it with tennis players. The tennis players would come on and say, well, we're actually paying to lease this. And we've never ran into trouble. As long as that sign's up there and everybody can read it and they can view our exclusive hours.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Just going back to the maintenance and so forth of these, do they require lights? I see in this picture here, there's a lot of lighting and so forth. Will you require lights at all?
I mean, if it's a nice down the road idea,
Okay.
but I mean, no.
No.
No,
And is
I
there
mean-
anything else to maintain these during the year? Do they have to be painted? How often do they have to be painted? Once a year, once every
Oh,
3
no,
years?
no, no. I mean, you're
Once every
talking.
10 years?
10.
Yeah,
The
maybe-
courts at St. Clair
maybe 10
haven't been
years.
painted since 1972 because they
Oh,
put a fiberglass coating with the lines right into the fiberglass.
I mean, to keep them nice, maybe a 10-year.
10-year refurbish?
Yeah.
Okay.
And once again, that's, it's not the cost that's going to be initially, right? Just to
Right.
repaint them and clean them up, so.
And do you need a building or anything for
We
any
would,
equipment?
we were out at the grounds and we looked and there was a couple smaller buildings there. I don't know if there was space. I mean, it'd be nice to have something,
Really, only space we need is a place to store. We buy balls in bulk and we just need a building to lock up our balls is basically what it is. And as far as this, if you get a reputable company to build the courts, like they put in drainage underneath them and proper stone, everything, so you don't end up with cracked surfaces. These guys are guaranteeing their work. That's all they do is build pickleball courts. Like the courts they built in Port Hope right now, all the posts are leaning in already, and they're only a year and a half old. So you got to have somebody that's putting in courts that's a reputable company to do it.
Okay, and just one last question. As far as seating and that kind of thing, is that suffice, like 4 or 5 picnic tables? Is that all that's really needed?
All we have is a bench along the fence in Coburg.
Is that?
10 courts. Everybody, in our shed, everybody brings their own lawn chair. So
Oh, okay.
they have their own lawn chair, and then they just store their chairs in the building, and we lock them up at the end of the day. But benches would be nice, but
Because you're having a
with
tournament,
8
so I
yeah,
presume
if
you're
you have a
you're
tournament,
attracting,
people will
you're
bring lawn
attracting
chairs.
people out that have to
Yeah.
probably wait for their turn or whatever.
yeah,
Yes.
people bring their chairs.
People
I
bring
mean, the
their chair.
town brought down maybe 5 or 6 picnic tables for the occasion. But
Okay.
was it necessary? Nice to have, but not necessary to have. No.
Great.
Okay, we'll go
Only
to
other
Bruce.
thing-
Any follow-up, Bruce? So I'll summarize by saying this is committee of the whole. We don't make decisions today. Some very positive communications here, some very interesting opportunities. Obviously, there's some dollars to be investigated, some grants to be investigated, some space. All of those components that we've kind of generalized here today would have to be, I guess, fine-tuned a bit. And that will be done by our staff. We would normally be reaching out to staff to generate a report for us in the components, both positive and negative, and the ongoing costs, because that's a factor for our ratepayers. I will quickly say that there have been many different people reach out to me, my age, which is getting older all the time, and interested in pickleball. So I will share that in a very positive note in closing. So thank you, gentlemen. We will move on to our next presenter who is here with us. And when we get this, and as always, our clerk says we need a motion to receive the presentation. Motion, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what's our next step?
Your next step will be to wait until Trevor reaches out to you, because he seems to be the person we need working on this from the township end. Thanks, Larry. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Okay, Brian, please join us. I introduced Brian Tan of Watson and Associates regarding our water rate study. Brian, just only thing I would ask, make sure that microphone's on and the floor is yours.
Red is on. Okay. Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here again to provide you a presentation on the water rate study. Obviously, this is one of two-part presentation. One being, to the committee, and then another one when we go, in front of council to present the water rates as well as the water financial plan. So, really, the purpose of today's meeting is to kind of go through the study process, what's transpired so far. We did finalize a background study, for the township's review. However, pending, the approval by council of the water rates, during the next meeting, then we would then finalize the water financial plan, which is essentially a document that you require to renew your drinking water license. So fairly, boilerplate in terms of the calculations. However, the purpose of today's meeting is really more so on the rates and the information that led up to that. So looking at information that we received and worked with township staff to determine your operational costs, capital costs, and any other items that you need taken care of and being recovered through your water rates. So as part of today's presentation, as you can see, we'll just go through a brief overview of the legislation. I won't bore you with the details of that. However, we will jump straight into the specifics of the calculations with respect to the existing rates, your customer base right now, and as well as a forecast of the customers over the next 10 years. We also have a forecast of the capital budget. Again, it's in draft form right now, but it is something that you'll need to monitor during your annual budget process. And then we have some assumptions on your operating budget. And then lastly, obviously, the calculation of the water rates and how you compare with your neighbors. So, next slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, so part of the study process. So the main thing is we worked with the township over the past few months to identify really, all of the current and future, capital and operating needs of the water system. So obviously, we're trying to determine the water rates for those water users within Creighton, Camborne, and Baltimore. And we're trying to identify the costs that we require as a municipality in order to service them, not only currently, but also into the future. Now, part of that, as I mentioned, we also take a look at the operating budget. So these are your fixed, expenditures that you must undertake every year just to maintain the system, keep it operational. And that comes at a cost. And there are some changes to it. Whether it's inflationary or any other items that are coming out of the budget. So that's all been included as part of the calculations. And as I mentioned, the purpose of this study at the end of the day is to generate new rates for you to consider as part of the annual budget process and as well as your fees and charges bylaw. And lastly, I already mentioned, but we do need this information for the water financial plan. Next slide. Yeah, this next. Oops. Oh, there we go. It's working now. So in terms of the legislation, just again, I won't bore you with the gory details, but really the main thing is, ever since Walkerton, in the early 2000s, with the E. coli scare, the province has really been proactive with respect to, how we manage the water and wastewater systems, in your case, just water, and how to go about ensuring that you're providing safe drinking water for residents and businesses. So the main goal really when we're undertaking rate studies, as you can see, there's a number of the pieces of legislation that's available. But our main goal when doing our calculations is the principle of full cost recovery. Whereas any expenditures related to the water system should be recovered by your water rates, right? They shouldn't be subsidized via taxes or, other user fees, et cetera. Your water users should be paying for the water system. And that then, is on the municipality to ensure that you're calculating the appropriate operating and capital costs associated with that. Now, one of the last things too that we're looking at in terms of the calculations is this whole notion of asset management. Now, this may be something that you've been hearing about over the last 5 to 10 years, but it's really come at a forefront now in front of municipalities where, as of July 1st of this year, municipalities are required to do, let's say, a financial strategy for their asset management planning, or even just looking at the levels of service that you want to provide. So as part of the water and wastewater rates, we're also being cognizant of what type of capital do you need in order to replace your system, in a future date, so that, you're able to then maintain the provision of the water system, but also being able to pay for those replacements, come 10, 20, 30, 40 years from now, without having to rely so much on debt. Because the goal here is to really try to be self-reliant on financing, without having to go too much into the to the banks or any financial institutions and paying for financing costs, when you can just save the money yourselves and pay for the appropriate infrastructure. Okay, so just going into some of the specifics, really with respect to the township, you have a variety of different charges that you impose to your water users. The first one is you have a fixed charge, like a monthly base charge, and that is imposed on any water users, essentially whether you use water or not, right? This helps recover your fixed components of your expenditures. So that way, if you have any snowbirds or any individuals that are really, leaving for the winter and going to Florida or going to some tropical destination and not utilizing water, they're still paying a portion of, the water bill, at least from a fixed component, to help maintain and keep an upkeep of your system. Now, that's just one, fixed charge. We also have an annual capital charge. So every year, these properties also provide an annual charge, very similar to, again, an asset management type of charge, right? This helps pay for your capital expenditures. And again, it helps mitigate the need for any debt financing, especially, when you have larger capital infrastructure that's identified through the budgets. And then the last portion here are the variable rates. So these are what we call a volume charge, a volumetric charge, or in your case, it's just how you measure at the meter of all of these properties. Now you do calculate on a per 1,000-gallon basis, and you have what's called an increasing block. So the more water you use, the more expensive it becomes after a certain threshold. So the first 5,000 gallons per month, you're charged about $8.89 per 1,000 gallons. And then it goes up for the next 3,000 gallon block, and then each additional 1,000 gallons subsequent to that. Now, for those of you that look at it in metric, we've also converted that into the metric form. So, we're looking at really 22.7 cubic meters per month. And then, each subsequent one goes up to 13 cubic meters per month. And then anything over 4.5 cubic meters per month is your most expensive tier. And an increasing block, it's something you've had, historically. And again, this is more so to help promote, water conservation. As you're using more, you're essentially having to pay more, and that helps assist us, especially with the capacity of your wells. And then lastly, you also have bulk water users. So for those that aren't on a meter, but take water, whether it's at straight from the water towers or your bulk filling stations, there's also a charge on a per gallon basis as well. Now, in terms of your customer profile, we've separated it into two different aspects. So one is actually the metered customers that are within the municipality, and then also the volumes that are associated with them. So you can see on the top left, these are your residential and commercial customers that are metered, and they're the ones that are paying towards all of your rates. So they pay the base charge as well as your metered charges. And we have about 586 customers, of which 573 are residential, 13 are non-residential. Now, we also have some other customers as well that do pay some fixed charges. However, they're not on the water system. So they are being serviced either privately or through another entity, such as maybe a neighboring municipality or neighboring, water entity. So in terms of that, we have another 145 customers that do pay, some capital charges as well to help maintain infrastructure. However, they're not subject to your water rates because they're not drawing from your municipal wells. Now, in terms of the volumes, you can see we've presented it into two different sections, again, depending on whether you like metric or imperial. In terms of your billable volumes, we have about 21 million gallons that the township is billing against. Or looking at it from a metric standpoint, it's about 95,900. And you can see the lion's share of this is really in that first block. So again, most of that would probably be representative of your residential customers. It's really those large users that would really fall into that second and third block. And you could probably have, and I'm sure you have some businesses as well that hence they're, consuming about 2 million gallons of water. Next slide. So I apologize for the size here, but in terms of what we're using now for the provisions of the calculations, we've worked with township staff, again, the CBO and the building department, as well as looking at, planning documents as well. And what we're looking at based on a current trajectory of what you have available in terms of supply and building activity is roughly about 6 additional customers per year. Okay, so when we say 6 additional customers, so these are customers again that will have a meter and then be part of the township's billing system. And as you can see, although we've calculated 6 customers per year, we also had to identify or at least estimate what is the average billable volume for a customer moving forward. And you can see there we've estimated roughly about 164 cubic meters per year. And that translates to roughly 36,000 gallons in a year for a customer. So that is what we've calculated for an average residential user. So if you do have any new customers come to town, we're assuming they're going to be generating about 36,000 gallons worth of water. So over the forecast period, you can see how we've added those customers and layered it on. So now we have an additional, call it 10,000 cubic meters of water potentially that could be added to your billable system. And since they're all residential in nature and because of the magnitude of how much it is per year, we're assuming everything is just going to stay within that block 1, like that first rate structure. Now, in terms of the capital infrastructure, we worked with township staff reviewing your budgets, asset management plan, or any other miscellaneous documents as well that were provided to us, and we then itemized the capital works based on need, timing, and costs. And as I said, a lot of it are more so with respect to any maintenance and replacement. However, if there are any projects, that require any enhanced capacity or increased capacity, we are assuming that those would be development charge eligible, and at which point they're not going to be affecting your rates. However, as we go through the development charge background study update for your water system, we are anticipating that these costs would then be recovered through your development charges. Again, those 6 customers for now are our estimated growth. However, should you have access to new capacity into the future, that number may change, right? You may have now, you may be able to expand that customer count because as a function of having more capacity. Now, in terms of what we require from an operational and capital needs standpoint over the next 10 years, again, starting in 2026 onwards, we have about $11.9 million anticipated in terms of works. Now, having said that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, a good chunk of this, almost half of the costs here, are potentially going to be DC related items. So we haven't included them as part of the rate calculations because we assume that there's going to be some DCs or at least some other revenues to be able to fund these projects. So really of this 11.9 million amount, roughly about $6 million are really what's in the rate forecast that we're trying to recover for. And you can see we've itemized it again by the different expenditures as well as the potential timing of these works as well. Now, in terms of the capital financing options, you can see here that we've identified different revenue sources. The low-hanging fruit that we can use really are the first 2, your reserves and your operating budget, those transfers to reserves to be able to pay for capital. We also have some grants that we're anticipating to occur over the next 10 years. So that's been reflected as part of the calculations as well for certain projects. Again, as I mentioned, we also have development charges. However, that's going to be updated over the next 6 months once we have other information that's provided to us. And that may come in the form of new capital budgets, what comes out of this rate study, maybe, master plans as well. But again, that will all come through a different study rather than the rate study. And then we also have some debt as well. It's very difficult to, have $6 million capital program, without having a debt, given the fact that you have about 580 customers. So we are using it more so as a rate stabilization to be able to maintain, a responsible rate to be able to recover for the operating and capital, but at the same time recognizing that between ourselves and the township staff, that the proposed or at least anticipated debt is not going to hinder you in any way in terms of a debt capacity or affordability standpoint. So that those checks and balances were undertaken through this study process. Now, in terms of the reserve fund balances, just kind of take your attention at least to the first one. So a bracket means it's a negative. So really we're drawing from, the water rate study reserve. We have your Buttersfield reserve, which is used for Buttersfield related capital and operating budgets. We also have, your general, water capital reserve. And then if you recall, we also have a hydrant reserve and these two other ones, which is the Kennedy and then the water reserve that's in a deficit. Now, just to give you some perspective, with respect to the Kennedy Water Reserve, this is just for infrastructure that was put in place in that particular area. And this will be recovered over time once homes start connecting to that system. So while it is in a deficit right now, as I mentioned, it's not affecting the water rates. However, with respect to the water reserve, if you recall, I had presented, perhaps back in 2021-22, you did have a deficit in your water reserve because historically you had some operational deficits that were being funded through other township means. And we generated a plan to essentially pay that back over time. And the original payback of that was for 2030. And that was with, again, with increased rates at the time. And we would then start putting money away and chip away at this deficit. That plan is still, moving forward. And based on our proposed growth forecasts and water rates that we're putting in this presentation, as well as the report, we are anticipating to pay that off by 2031. So we are still on track with that payback of this deficit. Now, in terms of operating budgets, as I said, we worked really closely with finance staff just to look at, again, what is required from an operational standpoint over the next 10 years, especially, with the different, areas that we have to service. And then we also recognize inflation. Again, the main driver of any budgets for the most part is inflation. So we had to assume that as well as part of the growth forecast. And we have aligned that with the township's initial operating budget, as well as what will be presented to you for 2026. So all of that is being embraced as part of the water rate study. Now, in terms of the proposed capital financing of the programs, you recall I had mentioned your program is about 11.9 million. But you can see right there, at least in the middle piece, about $5.5 million are all DC related. So that, again, does not impact the water rates. It will be considered as part of the development charge study and with financing from that process. So really what we're dealing with here is just over $6 million. And of that $6.5 million, we're looking at roughly $3 million in grants, about $1.1 million in non-growth related debt. $1.2 million in non-growth related debt. And we separated that between really what's the township versus Buttersfield, because again, there's a separate charge for them, so they shouldn't be blended together. And then we also have, different reserve funds that we are drawing from. So again, we're using that Buttersfield Capital Reserve, we have the Water Rate Reserve, and then that Water Capital Reserve that we are budgeting transfers from the water operating budget, kind of parking into a reserve fund and then utilizing it into the capital budget when it comes time. Now, in terms of the operating budget, you can see here just a little bit more broken down. Again, all of the details are in the actual background study. But you can see the operating costs, at least the pure operating. We're starting off in 2026, roughly around $732,000, which is really inflated from your 2025 budget. And based on the assumptions working with township staff, that's going to increase to just over $1 million by 2035. Now, keep in mind, we have those debt payments. In terms of the non-growth related debt, it is going from roughly $42,000 per year up to $125,000 per year in terms of annual payments. But again, that's inclusive of that township debt any existing debt you already have. Hence, we're already starting at a 40,000 amount, plus that Buttersfield debt as well. That'll be included as part of this analysis. We have growth-related debt, which again, we've separated out because this would be more DC funded. So again, I'd ignore this at least for the meantime. However, it is something we will monitor through the DC process if it is going to be debt finance, or if we're going to have perhaps some conversations with builders, developers to help maybe get some money up front to build some of this infrastructure. And then lastly, the transfers to reserves. So these transfers here that you're seeing, they are going into several different reserves, whether it's your capital reserve, the Buttersfield, again, pay back to that water general reserve, etc. And keep in mind, while the reserve transfers are going up all over time, the reason for that was to recognize as well your asset management. Based on your asset management plan, it did estimate, several $100,000 per year for, an annual life cycle replacement of your water assets. So that's something we tried to recognize as well as part of the calculations. So when you're looking at the background study and you're seeing a larger reserve fund balance by 2035, the reason for that is to address your asset management needs and to mitigate any future debt financing. So just the last couple of slides here. So in terms of the annual bill, I apologize for the size here, but kind of presents it in two. Again, the top is metric and the bottom is the imperial gallons. So you can see the monthly base charge and the volume rates. Really, the punchline is maintaining a 5% increase per year. And if you may recall from the previous study that was done back in 21-22, we did say that over the rest of the forecast period, we would try to maintain a 5%, and we were able to achieve that based on looking at the capital forecast as well as the operating budget. Now, keep in mind, again, there is some debt involved in that, but as I said, looking at the affordability standpoint of the township, that is required in order to maintain a 5% increase. So you can see here, if you're looking at a total annual bill for a customer, roughly right now we're paying about $1,400, for a water bill, inclusive of any of the capital charges, monthly base rates, and everything. And again, at a 5% level, you could see, that is going up over time. Now, having said that, we will have to reevaluate this. Should there be any major changes through the development charge background study? Because if that changes, let's say, customer information, and you're now able to spread the cost amongst more customers or get capacity for, for growth, that may help with these numbers as well in the future. Again, any additions to your billable volumes obviously helps spread out the costs rather than really isolating it to 600 customers. Now, in terms of a survey, you can see here you really don't change right now based on the 5% because you are just kind of keeping up with inflation. Right now, with the non-residential building construction price index, inflation's at about 4%. So really at a 5%, you're just keeping up more so with the added capital costs that you're incurring through your budgets. So you can see, looking at some of your neighbors, or at least within the eastern municipalities east of the GTA, you can see the highest is still within Autonomy South Monaghan. I mean, in Keene Heights, their flat rate is just well over like $2,200 per home. You don't move in the scale of things. You're still staying where you are. And then with the other municipalities, again, you're probably wondering why they're lower. Well, there's a number of issues probably. First off, it's not apples to apples in comparison. They may have more customers. They may have other rates and fees that, again, aren't just pushed through the water rates. They may collect it from, other sources as well. And then as well, one thing to note too is some of these municipalities are probably still going through a water rate study, and they need to embrace their asset management plan. And again, I've done a few asset management plans over the past year, at least, in terms of the financial strategy, and all of them have significant increases and upward pressure for water rates as well as taxation. So for these to then embrace that and try to embrace that full cost recovery, that is something where potentially over the next year or so we should see this this chart be very different. And while you may be still on the left-hand side, some of those rates may actually be coming up, closer to you. So that's again a consideration standpoint, but the major thing is the number of customers and how you're spreading the costs. Oops. So really, again, consider, for the presentation, it kind of concludes it. Really, it's matters for committee to consider the capital and operating program, receive any of your comments, and our goal here is to finalize all the documents, for your approval, during the next council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron, and my apologies for mispronouncing your name earlier. I got 2 attempts from our clerk to correct it, and each version kept getting bigger and bigger so I could properly see it. Do we have any questions for our presenter? Larry, please.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for the presentation. That's really great. Just to staff, are the public going to get an opportunity to have input on this? Or where do we stand on that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are actually going to be presenting it next week at the council meeting, so public can ask questions if they have any.
So there's no opportunity for them to challenge it or do it before council?
It's not a requirement, Byron, if you can correct me, it's not a requirement to have a public consultation. But again, we are going to be presenting it to council next week, and if public has any question, we would be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you.
It will be part of our published agenda
That's
in
right.
advance to the actual meeting itself. So
Absolutely.
there will be an opportunity. Any further questions? Okay, I presume we need a motion to receive the presentation. Bruce, Mark, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have a closed session, so you have a choice. You can either recess and go into committee adjustment and then come back and go into close, or you can,
I think that's reasonable.
sure.
Isn't that-
It's
is that-
only going to be a 5-minute meeting.
This is only going to be 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, I'll turn to our audience who I either know or have met just recently. We have a closed session scheduled for right now, which will take a few minutes. Would you be all right if we asked you to sort of leave for 5 minutes until we get the door back open? We'll get through that bit of business and we'll get back to you as quick as we can. Okay, so what we're going to need is a motion to move to closed. And I'll simply read it. Motion to move to closed session to discuss matters permitted under section 239-2, being personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board or employees, recommendations from the Community Recognition Advisory Committee regarding 2025 award nominees. The motion actually reads, it is recommended Council, Corporation of Township of Hamilton acts as follows, that the Committee of the Whole held on October 14th, 2025, move to closed session at 1:58 p.m. under the Municipal Act, sections 239-2B. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Microphones off. regarding our Community Recognitions Awards. And it is to be held November 23rd, 2025, I believe at the Baltimore Arena again. Yes, thank you. So, moving on, where are we at? We have to report out, and we got that done. And the motion is that the Committee of the Whole meeting held on October 14th, 2025 be adjourned at 2:08 p.m. I have a moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor, carried. Thank you. Okay, now we just need 1 minute to transition in and out of some staff.